It's only May, yet Kern County is already seeing near triple-digit weather. The scorching heat and dry conditions, all too familiar indications our annual fire season is creeping upon us. In fact, today, Kern had its first fire weather watch of the season.
Now, these red-orange infernos are a matter of life or death, as we saw with the Palisades and Eaton fires. Could the tragedy we saw in Los Angeles happen here in our own backyard? 17's Jenny Huh answers those questions in our deep dive Red Flag Warning. Is Kern ready?
17 News spoke with both the Kern County and Bakersfield fire departments, as well as city and county leaders. The short answer is yes, fires of that degree could happen here in Kern too. Some privately mentioned concerns about personnel, equipment, funding, and the overall bandwidth to combat a potential fire of such magnitude. Here's a closer look at why our first responders say they feel confident and prepared.
One of the things we have to remember about the Palisades fire and the Eaton fire is it really was a perfect storm. So you have firefighters addressing the front of the fire when fire is already spreading a half to 3/4 or a mile past them. It makes it a very difficult fire to fight, especially when you don't have aircraft who are able to fly in situations like that and be able to do water drops or retardant drops and then provide recon for you.
The chiefs of both the Kern and Bakersfield fire departments agree while the conditions of the LA wildfires were abnormal, to say the least, our city and county too are fire prone. History proves it. Take the Burrell fire, the largest wildfire in Kern County history. Over 53 days in the summer of 2024, Burrell burned over 59,000 acres.
The Burrell fire is doing everything that you would expect it to do for a fire burning in this area with this amount of wind behind it in red flag conditions.
Another example, the 2016 Erskine fire, Kern's third largest fire, was fueled by extreme winds, dry brush, and trees killed by California's historic 5-year drought.
But if you look at the Erskine fire, that's how that fire started. We had unreasonable winds that day, fire laid over and it took a run.
Our second largest fire, unnamed, occurred in 1942 and burned in the same areas as Erskine. Recent concerns for our residents stem from the proximity of Los Angeles and the all too familiar brush fires signaling the start of our own fire season.
As a Bakersfield community, as a Kern County community, we felt called upon, each of us did, and that's kind of what I was observing around with my own constituents. And it is our duty to make sure that our city is also prepared, that we actually have an assessment of what our fire department needs are currently and how we begin planning.
The experts certainly say that a fire is possible, but the important thing is for us to be prepared.
That's why Bakersfield Vice Mayor Manpreet Kaur proposed the city's first master fire plan.
The intention is that we look into the future, far into the future, 10+ years usually is what master plans do, and we really assess what our needs are today and how we begin building that into our budgets at the city in the coming months and years.
But the plan is nowhere near done. Kaur says the city is still taking bids from firms to see who will draft the plan.
Is this really the best use of city time and resources when a fire like that could happen at any given moment, really?
Well, I trust that our Bakersfield Fire Department is prepared and has the training, but at the same time, there are, like every other department, there are needs, and we have master planned for, our Parks Department. We master plan even within water. It is upon us to also plan and master plan for the rest of our departments, and I feel that an area of growth for us is making sure that we can plan ahead, and that's with every single department.
This is our effort to continue to improve.
And so began the conversation. How prepared are our city and county fire departments for a major wildfire? Both have emergency operation plans, and also reports like the city and county's hazard mitigation plans and risk assessments help us understand our town's distinct fire challenges. Like wildland-urban interface areas where man-made structures intersect with open grassland and vegetation, of which we're seeing so much more. Now, these are wildfire-prone areas. Dry conditions and high winds boost that risk.
Yeah, the wildland-urban interface, or what we call WUI, that's been here in Kern County for a long time. If you look at Fraser Park, you look at Golden Hills, Bear Valley, I mean, that is an all-urban mix, so we're talking about hills and houses mixed together. That's kind of what we specialize in. That's why we have such a robust wildland division.
The fire chiefs say there's more urban sprawl, and with more outlying homes will come greater restrictions.
We need defensible space. You need to have your own water tank on your property. We want to make sure that you have a zero zone concept. You want a fire-wise community. Those are all things that we push through community education so that these homes stand a chance against these big, large conflagration fires.
A zero zone is essentially an ember-resistant zone, a defensible space, meaning the buffer between a structure and the surrounding area. Meantime, the state already is applying lessons learned from the LA fires. The California Department of Forestry and Fire Protection, also known as CAL FIRE, released new fire hazard severity maps, assessing fire likelihood, fire behavior, wildfire history, type of vegetation and flammability, weather hazard, and more. More land in California is seeing an increase in fire danger, and Kern is not exempt. There are 3 hazard levels: moderate, depicted in yellow, high, depicted in orange, and very high, shown in red. The very high fire hazard severity zones are scattered throughout the county, with the area north of the Tehachapi Airport being one of them. The western parts of the county have a mix of high and moderate hazard ratings. A significant chunk of southeast Kern, including the Antelope Valley, Rosamond, California City, and Boron areas, are rated moderate. The foothills of East Bakersfield also are rated moderate, but that hazard spikes up to high near the Hart Park area, and just to the east of Rio Bravo Country Club is a very high severity zone. The Oil City and Malta area, the area east of Oildale and north of the Panorama Bluffs, is also a mix of high severity zones. We
establish fire breaks early on in the season around our vulnerable communities, and hopefully will help with that. Both departments also upstaff when we have red flag events. I think a big part of it is education and letting those people who live in those communities let them know, hey, we need to have good clearance. It's about creating a fire-wise community, about having defensible space, about having occupants in those structures to make sure that they are the most protected as they can. So when firefighters get to those neighborhoods and get to those houses, they have an opportunity to make a good save.
Coming up, we'll discuss the concerns residents like you have shared about our first responders.
From how quickly our firefighters can make a save to which department tackles what parts of town, we'll have the inside look at BFD and KCFD operations. You're watching Red Flag Warning. Is Kern ready?
When it comes to the ability of our first responders to combat fires, small or large, there are recurring resident concerns. A big one, response time.
For the city of Bakersfield, we actually have in our general plan for the city a response time, and that's what we base our station locations off of. So when we take a look at a new station, we'll incorporate our GIS team to say, hey, where's the average response time out from the station? Where do we need a new station? Where do we need additional resources? And where would they be most effective?
And there are plans to add to the city's 14 fire stations in the fast-growing neighborhoods like the Southwest.
We are actually in the process of doing a survey with International Association of Firefighters, and that's what we're taking a look at. We're taking a look at where resources would best be positioned throughout the city, making sure that we do have the proper coverage, making sure that if there is going to be some growth, where that growth should be, and what that growth should be.
But at the county level, there's a lot more land to cover, including remote areas.
So for residents in those areas who do worry that response time does get delayed or longer, what do you say about kind of operations and the strategies that your department implements?
Well, we always have a robust response plan no matter what. And like speaking to boron specifically, I've worked in that station. It is in the heart of the city, so it can get anywhere within 5 minutes. If you'll get that first engine on scene, and then your help is coming from Cal City, Mojave. So you have to be strategic and put the stations where the communities are, where the people are, but also you can't leave giant gaps in the county, which will extend response time. So they're strategically placed geographically everywhere throughout the county.
Kern County Fire Department Chief Aaron Duncan is the county's Director of Emergency Services and local CAL FIRE chief. He's the top acting official in any emergency.
It's not just the fires, it's the earthquakes, it's the floods, it's the all risk component that we have throughout the county.
Chief Duncan says the allocation of equipment to KCFD's 47 fire stations depends on need.
Just your threat matrix, what your risk is to that community. So, for example, out in Taft, we have a ladder truck, and that was purchased a long time ago because we know we have a lot of oil fields, high towers out there that we need that equipment for. So you place it strategically to where your specific risks are. Same thing with downtown East Bakersfield. We have a lot more robust, more common fire stations in that area because that's where a heavier population is.
KCFD equipment includes 58 engines, 6 ladder trucks, 5 crew buggies, 6 dozers, 4 water tenders, and 2 helicopters. As for BFD equipment, it includes 14 fire engines, 3 ladder trucks, 3 Type 3 engines, smaller fire engines with 4x4 capabilities, and 3 Type 6 engines, pickup truck style with a 4-wheel drive designed for wildland firefighting. In firefighting, there are federal, state, and local jurisdictions. So who responds where? For Kern and Bakersfield, the fire departments collaborate via a joint powers agreement.
I would say there's never confusion on where the fire is, because the fire is where it is, and then just the closest resources go. The dispatchers are actually both city and county dispatchers. It's the same facility. We'll actually have city dispatchers dispatching county equipment and county dispatchers dispatching city equipment. So they're very familiar. There is never ever any confusion on that. In fact, hardly ever do we have a large incident here in the metro area where both departments aren't on it. We work together on a daily basis, and when I say daily, I mean multiple times a day.
We want the closest fire equipment to go to the call. It's all about getting fire service on scene as fast as we possibly can.
Sometimes it's all agencies on deck.
When you're talking about a Burrell, when you're talking about an Erskine, when you're talking about hundreds of homes being burned up, that's not a one department show. You need help, and that's what's great about the fire service. It's all hands on deck. So if you look at Burrell, we had assistance from Ventura County, LA County, LA City. Every fire agency in the state was coming down to help us.
Kern is part of the State Office of Emergency Services Inland Operation Area, Mutual Aid Region 5, alongside Fresno, Kings, Madera, Mariposa, Merced, and Tulare counties.
We have op areas. We have the whole state cut into op areas. So all we have to do is reach out. I need this many strike teams from the north part of the county. I need this many strike teams from Southern California, and they just start sending. We give aid just like we did to LA, and they give aid back. And then we can reach out and tap our neighbors, which would be Southern California, the coastal areas. We have master mutual aid agreements with most departments. We can reach out to anybody.
After the break, we'll take a look at what went wrong with the Los Angeles wildfires.
From not having enough water to recent cuts in funding, could we see such issues locally? We asked our fire chiefs when Red Flag Warning Is Kern Ready returns.
Water was yet another pressing issue as first responders tackled LA's Palisades and Eaton fires.
Water! Out of every fire hydrant you've seen, what have you found?
Right now, we're finding most of them are down or low pressure.
17 News asked our fire chiefs if we could also see issues with water availability.
Both of our departments work with Cal Water here in the metro area to make sure that pressures are appropriate in those areas. When we get large fires, one of the things we do is we contact Cal Water and say, hey, we may need to boost the pressure, and they'll boost the pressure for us. It's something they can do within minutes of being contacted.
But for a massive fire?
I will say there's not a water system out there that is designed to have 100 fire engines hook up to it and be able to flow 1,500 gallons a minute out of every single one. But our water system is robust. There is water in the system, and we are very familiar with using it and how to supplement those pressures when needed.
At the county level, there aren't hydrants in each corner. That's something first responders need to keep in mind.
I don't think it causes a delay because we plan for that. So, we have a station out in, let's say, Golden Hills, right? Maybe they may not have the most robust water system, but the crews that work in that area, they know that area. They know where their closest water source is. We train, as you see these firefighters doing right now, every day on how to get water. So if that means I'm drafting water out of the pool in your backyard, if I'm taking water out of a canal, if I'm doing a tanker shuttle with 3 different engines, they're prepped for that area. There's not one piece of dirt in this county that they haven't looked at and said, okay, we're going to need to order water tenders for this area because we know that water system isn't as robust. So we've reconned all that. We have pre-plans for all those things. So no, it's not going to cause us a delay.
Budget, yet another point of contention between former Los Angeles Fire Department Chief Kristen Crowley and city officials.
But was the budget cut, Chief?
Yes, it was cut, and it did impact our ability to provide service.
For the Bakersfield Fire Department, its budget has increased steadily over the past few years, from $41 million in 2019 to about $64 million last fiscal year. Vice Mayor Kors says this is yet another area that can benefit from a master fire plan.
It will indicate what our needs are. When we go to budget, then, we have different funding sources. One example is PSBS, and that's our Measure N money. That has been able to take us further in meeting needs that the city wasn't able to meet before Measure N existed.
Measure N, the city's voter-approved 1-cent sales tax.
The Public Safety Vital Services measure revolves around sales tax. And then the general fund revolves around sales tax, property taxes, and then of course grants and things like that that help provide some additional funds for us.
Other council members also echoed the sentiment that this was a need and felt it was urgent as well. So that really helps in making sure, and it sends a signal to city management that other constituents and other council members agree that this should be prioritized.
Mayor Go says where the priority is, city funding will go. For the Kern County Fire Department, its budget ranged from about $115 million to $180 million for the past decade or so. Since the passing of Measure K, the county's voter-approved 1-cent sales tax in 2022, however, KCFD's budget exceeded the $200 million mark.
So currently our budget's $220 million. I'd say 3 years ago we were $180 million. So we are growing. And we've added through Measure K and through our property tax growth, it's been phenomenal for Kern County. We see about $20 million out of Measure K every year. It's allowed us to put our medical units in the field. It's allowed us to put our squads in the field. Just our increased revenues that we're getting from CAL FIRE and other agencies, that's allowed us to make our wildland program more robust.
Meantime, BFD, KCFD, and the city of Bakersfield's efforts toward a master fire plan continue. The public will be asked to weigh in on the coming drafts.
Now, I think if you ask any fire chief or any leader could they use more personnel? Certainly, yeah. But we have personnel to address any emergency we have here in the metro area. If we were overconfident, we wouldn't train as much as we did. In my mind, and in our firefighters' minds, we're humble public servants.
Residents can stay alert by signing up for Ready Kern, the county-wide emergency notification system.
We be aware, that we be alert, and that we be notified. If we are told to evacuate, it's important for us to do so that we don't have to have our firefighters rescuing us from the emergency because we haven't done what we're supposed to be doing.
It's hot, it's dry, it's our fire season. Remember to be prepared and be mindful of fire hazards. I'm Jenny Huh for 17 News.